stanza 2. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as far that the passing there had warned them really about the same. So now here, children, I will give you the meanings of certain words that are there. In the first line, write down the meaning of fair. It is as good as the other. On the second line, you have got the word claim. The meaning of that is options. Then in the third line, you have got the word grassy. Grassy means unused. And the next one is wanted wear. The meaning of that is there down in your set of vocabularies. Okay, now moving on to the explanation of that. The poet, he says that he kept on looking at one path for a long time to check if it is the right path for him or not. And then he decided and started walking on the other path because he felt that both the paths were equally good. He says just as fair, so he felt that both paths were equally good and started walking on one of them. He adds that maybe he felt that the path was better for him, so he chooses it as it was grassy, and which means that it was unused. So he says that as he was standing there, he looked at both the paths. Both the paths were very inviting, and he was, tempted to try both. But then he knew that he was one lone person there, and he could only take one path at a time. And then he says that when he looked on one path, he saw that it was, a path that was frequently used by most of the travelers. And then on the other path, he saw that, it was less used. Whereas he could see, he also noticed that, the grass was there on that path. So then he knew that, that path was, very frequently, or it was, less frequently used by the travelers. And so he decided that he would take that, he had made his decision that he would use that path. Because he said that not many people had walked on this path earlier, and that is why this path looked more grassy and wanted wear. It means, now see the term wanted wear is there. It means that it was not walked on by many people. And then he says that he took that path. After he walked on that path for some distance, he realized that both the paths had been worn out the same way. Both the paths were similar and worn out. Even in our life also, when we take any path or option, we take an option, and whenever we take an option, we have the benefits, we do have the benefits and the disadvantages, problems and challenges. Whatever comes upon our way, we have to face them. So he says that we think that we are choosing a better option, but it is not that way. So he says that always we think that whatever decision or whatever option we have taken, that is always that could be always the best for us, but not necessary. Only when we go on that path, and whatever troubles or whatever problems we face, we accept it as challenges, and then we try to overcome it. So he says that we shouldn't be frightened whenever life throws challenges at us. We have to face them boldly and bravely, and only then we can overcome these challenges. We shouldn't, like a wounded dog, turn back and come back to that point from where we started, first. Okay, now the third stanza. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black, Oh, I've kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. So uh, he says that whenever any traveler comes and stands there at that path and then looks at both the paths, he will notice the thing that he will notice that both the paths are covered with leaves. So he says that when both the paths are covered with leaves, he knows that at that time or the few moments before that, nobody or no traveler has walked on both these paths, because the dried golden brown leaves are fallen on both the paths and both are equally covered. So it becomes a little difficult as to decide which path to take. And he says that if anybody would have walked on either one of the paths, he would have known, because when a person walks over dried leaves, they all become trampled on and then they start turning black. But unfortunately, that day or that moment when he stood there, both the paths were equally covered with these brown leaves, and so it was very difficult for him to take a decision. So he says that now he says that he has finally made up his mind. He had decided to take the path that was more grassy, because he realized that that was a path that was less traveled on. And he says that he will take this path, and then maybe at some day in the future he may come back and then try the other path. He says that he very well knows that this path, whichever path he is going to now start his journey on, that will go on. That path will lead on to another path, and that other path will lead on him into further deeper and deeper into the woods, or even in his life also it will take him forward. It will so he says that when he has achieved his goal, maybe that time he may think about coming back and then trying or give it a try, to try the other option which he did not opt for. So he says that sometimes he says that he is doubtful whether he could come back, because he knows that whichever way he is going to go, that will further lead him deeper and deeper into his trials or triumphs or tribulations. So he says that if he is proved successful in this path, whatever he's taken, then maybe he may come back. He's got a little adventurous streak in him. So he says that maybe later on, when he is satisfied with what life has given him, maybe he may come back here and then try what is there on the other path. Okay, now moving on to stanza 4. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I stood the one less traveled by, and that has made the difference. So he says that life will go on, and he says that as life goes as he moves ahead in his life, where one path leads on to another, he would have by then aged. And then he says that, and then there would come that point in his life where he would think of leading a retired life. And then he says that at that point, when he is relaxing in the comfort of his home and with his family, he may narrate the details of his life's journey to maybe his extended family or to his grandchildren, and then he can very proudly say that, the path that he took has, brought glory to him, has brought rewards to him, and he was successful in life. And he says that, and now here at this point of his life, leading a retired life, he can, with a sigh say that yes, he took the right decision of, taking the grassy path, because this is where life has led him to, and he is quite satisfied with what life has given him. And so with no regrets, he can, with a sigh tell it proudly to his family or to his grandchildren that this is where life has brought him to. And then he says that he can says that he did come upon that phase of his life where he was at a crossroad, and then that decision that the decision what he took at that time in his life had proven or had yielded results for him. And so he is now standing at that point of his life where he has become successful in his life. So he says that the poet also is trying to give a message to all of us that here, and especially to the students, that we should be wise and careful while making choices or taking decisions out of the given options that we have, because our future depends upon the choice that we make today. It shouldn't be such that we should regret whatever choices we have made. So he says that everybody comes at that crossroads in our life where we have to take decisions. Same way even for y'all children. Now y'all are in class 8. In a few years time, in another 2 years time, you will have to be taking the most crucial decisions in your life as to after 10th what you want to do, which academic stream you want to choose, so as to further choose the subjects which will which you want to take up for your career. So he says that we should be wise in taking our decision from the options that are laid out in front of us. We have to weigh the pros and cons of each of these decisions that we take. And yes, sometimes we may face disappointments, but then it says that disappointment further leads us into another path, and maybe if we go further and further, it may bring success at some point. So he says that never be disappointed. Have an adventure streak in you and try out options. Choose your options wisely. That is what the poet tells us. Be wise, clever, brave, and choose your options wisely, and face the challenges what life throws at us. So with this, I come to the end of the explanation of our poem, The Road Not Taken. Thank you, children.